Hi everybody, my name is Shannon. Welcome to my channel, Another Yarn. Thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. Have you started making squares this year? Are you collecting squares that you're going to maybe put together and make something out of later on in the year? Jackie from Crochet ADHD has her crochet along, knit along, make along, because you can do it however you want to, where she's talking about doing 2 squares a month, any size, any pattern, it doesn't matter. And her encouragement, because she doesn't normally like to make squares, is to make up, obviously if you're doing 2 a month, then you'll have 24 by the end of the year. And depending on the size that you've made them, you can make a decent size blanket, whether it's for a doll. It could be a doll, right? Depending on what size yarn you're using and how big you're making your squares. It could be a people-sized blanket, a baby blanket, an adult blanket, or something along that line. You can use your squares to do anything you want to with it. Obviously, my mind is definitely going towards blankets, but you can put your squares together and make a tote bag. It really depends on what size squares you're making, what type of material, because if you're going to make a tote bag, you'd kind of want it to be like a cotton or something, maybe something that's going to really be able to stand some wear and tear, and maybe not stretch as much as your acrylics, but whatever, however you want to do it. I wasn't going to join in. Oh, no, I am not going to join in. No. I'm making squares. I'm making squares. I am. And one of the reasons is I was searching through Ravelry. Don't do that. Time suck. Don't do that. Well, I was searching through Ravelry and was looking at some of the patterns. And Anne Regourd has 52 squares that she is releasing one a week. And throughout the entire year. If you didn't know, there's 52 weeks in the year, right? And evidently this year there's 29 days in February. I don't believe it's not a thing. But either way, so 52 weeks a year, 52 squares, right? Okay, and they're free for 1 week. Why am I doing this video? Because it's free right now, square number 9. If you go get it, if you look at my link down below, my description, you'll find the link, and it is free. Let me read. Let me read it. Let me read the exact date so I don't tell you an untruth. So it says it is free Monday 26th, 2024 to Sunday the 3rd, March 2024. No coupon code needed. Now, caveat, she is in Paris. I do not know the Paris time conversion from Paris to Mountain Time, USA. So keep that in mind. If you are in the United States or wherever you're at, I personally wouldn't really want to push it all the way up until the 3rd of March, because that's when this one is no longer free. You do you, though, right? And if you miss it and you really, really want it, by all means, give the lady some money. She has some other things on the pay what you will kind of a discount codes and everything. I think she's got a discount code for 75% off, 50% off, a 25% off, or pay full price, right? Your choice. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you, I have no affiliation with this designer. I just liked some of the squares that she had going on, the movement of those. So this one was just out. That's why I want to show you now, so you have plenty of time to watch my video and grab her square pattern. Here's the picture of it. This is square 9. This is the Our Poent series, and I'm probably massacring how you pronounce that. Do apologize. Yeah, there you go. So that is square number 9. I really like it. I think it's really pretty, and I started it. Of course I started it. As soon as I was able to download it, I started it. So this is my progress right now. No, it doesn't really bow. If I flatten it out, I'm going to make it go off my needles. I got excited. The goal was to just make it square enough, to where I could have it on my double points and show you my wonderful progress. And I got excited, and then I made too many, so I'm squishing it on all the needles, right? So that's why it's bowing up. I'm like, oh, here, don't fall off. I'll be adding my double point, or my circular needles, whatever, they're right there. My circular needles on the next round, putting stitch markers in the corners where I know what I'm doing. But look at this. You have cables in this one. That's right. You have more cables. So that's kind of fun. I really like the texture and the movement of all of these. They're a blast to work with. So this is square 9. What I noticed, since I am using, since this one has a tag on it, Big Twist, right? This is the Big Twist value. This is a number 4 worsted weight yarn. It is 380 yards, 6 ounces, 100% acrylic. Now, for me, using this, the squares that I have done, I've made 3 of them completely. I've used 75 grams on 2 of them and 82 grams on another one that had a lot more texture and things along that line, right? So I look at it for each skein, I can get 2 squares if I choose to. My squares, I haven't blocked any yet because I'm lazy. My squares currently look like they're 16 inches unblocked, 16 inches square. Now I'm using size 8 knitting needles. The pattern calls for, I think, either a size 4 or a 5 using different yarn. And I believe you'd get around a 12-inch square. So, you know, use what you want, use what you have, and see what you come up with. I mean, there's no, you have to use it and it has to be this size. Why? So what I was looking at is I could end up doing a four squares across and 6 down, and that's a big throw. It'd be 60 plus inches wide and 90 plus inches long. So it'd be like a twin plus, like the twin XL, like the longer twins, something like that. But I would be able to, if I continued this throughout the year and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, I'd have enough for 2 of those, 2 blankets like that. And the reason I'm saying approximately, like 63, 64 inches wide is I haven't blocked it, so I don't know how big it is. And then how am I going to attach it, right? So those are different options. And depending on how you sew them together or attach them, do I put a seam on it that actually adds some more value, width to it, and make that kind of a decorative part? I haven't gotten that far. Right now, I'm just thoroughly enjoying making the squares, and I don't really know what I want to do with them. I really don't. And for that matter, I do have more of the Big Twist. I'm not sure how many skeins I have, but that's okay. I know where Joann's is, and Joann's has always got sale, so I can get more different colors, etc. I haven't done anything as far as I want to make this color, I want to make that color. I have 3 of them right now. They're all in different colors. This is another red one, so I'll have 2 of them in reds, different shades of reds. So I don't know, since I'm making these squares and thoroughly enjoying it, do I just continue with that haphazard colors and just pop them in however, or do I try to make something that's themed? We know I like my bright pink and lime green. Do I do something like that where I've got bright pink, lime green, oh, and then that hot purple, that grape purple looks really good as a pop with those? Maybe. And I'm making the squares, each one as they come out currently. So it's not like, oh, wait, I'm going to wait and I'll make this square in purple and this one in pink. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just, as they pop up, I'm over here grabbing a thing of yarn. And this particular skein of yarn was already partially used. Yeah, that's my other needle. Yeah, that's good, right? See, I'm using red needles with a dark red yarn. That's smart. It makes it really easy to blend in. Yes, whatever. So I weighed my yarn prior to, since it's a partial skein, to see if I had enough. And I do. I've got like 80 some odd grams of this. So I'm pretty sure I'm set for this particular square. I had some other partials that looked like I would have enough, but I weighed them and not necessarily. So at this point, I'm liking the idea of not necessarily having to cut my yarn. So making 2 squares per 1 ball of yarn, I think is really good. I just went over, since I already have some partials, like, hey, might as well use this one as opposed to break into a new skein, right? That's thinking good. And then the leftover pieces, then I can use that for other projects. As the Big Twist, I've been having a lot of fun with some of my smaller things. I've got granny squares and stuff going on, all sorts of other things. I'm working on, or I will be working on, maybe making some squares for Camp Boggy Creek and maybe sewing those together, and not trying to inundate Linan from Nina's Knots and Crochet, who sewed them together last year, but she got like 5,000 squares, so pretty sure she doesn't need anything I make, except for maybe the polar bear squares. I might send those to her anyway. She expressed an interest in those, just saying. But, in general, I can do that. And using those end pieces, You know, if this uses all but like 20 or 30 grams of the skein of yarn, that's still a lot that can be used and incorporated into other projects. So those are some of my thought processes as far as making blankets, making throws. When I looked at the needle size that they used, I contemplated maybe trying it and going down a needle size or so to see what I think of it. But, you know, I don't know. This is one of them. It's, again, not blocked. It does lay flat. I have taken a picture of it. It does lay flat. It's beautiful. But, you know, I mean, look at that. It's not stiff. It scrunches nicely. And if I go down on needle sizes, well, that just makes a stiffer fabric, or depending on how small of a needle I go to, of course. But this is worsted weight on 8s, and it seems to have a good drape, right? And the patterns thus far, yes, there's some lace in there, but it's not so holey and lacy that using size 8s is making big holes and, you know, just too much. I think, you know, in excess, right? I have no idea what the squares to come are, but each one so far seems pretty solid and doing some nice textures and movements on them. So I think I'll just continue because I've already got 3 of them and I'm working on the 4th with 8s. I think I'll just continue as is. And then, like I said, I was looking at it and it's like, well, would it be nice? Me and my smaller yarns. Oh my gosh, what you don't know. I need to be talked off the ledge. I'm just telling you. So I'm already thinking, it's like, well, obviously you can make any pattern with whatever size yarn you want to. If it says super bulky, make it in fingering weight and make it this big. It doesn't matter. You know, and I kind of like to do that. I'm weird. I'll make the same pattern like 3 or 4 different times in different yarns just to see the effect, to see the size difference, to see, you know, I mean, when you make things miniature and everything, when they used to be big, I mean, it's cute. Like I see these 2, that's the same pattern. They call these penguins. I'm like, whatever, but that's the same pattern, same exact stitch count. This is the bulky weight. This is the DK weight. These are both Premier Bloom, right? DK. And because this one didn't use as much yarn, I didn't get into the pretty bloomy flowers and everything, right? So it's all yellow. But it's the same yarn. And you can see obviously the different sizes. So I like to do things like that. I'm really weird, a little odd. A lot of people cannot stand making the same pattern twice. Evidently, it doesn't bother me. For that matter, I've made things like, okay, double down, 6 and 7 times. I remember I'll tell that story later. We're talking about squares. But yeah, I'll do things along that line just to see the difference. And then talking about these squares, I'm over here going, I'm visually looking around going, what do I have a lot of yardage of that I could do something like this? Right now, the most yardage that I have, you know, the blanket that I could machine wash, not necessarily super delicate and hand wash or anything like that, really is the Joann Big Twist value that I have. Now, I've got a lot of the cake yarns and everything like this thing right here. I've got those that would be easy care, and I could do squares like that and just let the colors play as they play, you know, so that's an option. And it's a smaller yarn right here. And that would be kind of a pretty thing also, and end up with smaller squares and let them play out. But I think on those, I don't necessarily have a bunch that's color coordinated that would work. I think with all the Joann, the crazy colors that I'm doing, it's very intentional looking, you know, when I put it together that they're supposed to be different. But if I did something like this, I've got multiple cakes, but they're not necessarily in the same family color-wise, and they wouldn't necessarily blend as well. If I had a bunch of those, I don't want a bunch of those, it's okay. But if I had a bunch like that or similar color palettes, maybe that would be a good idea. And then I thought, well, you know, I'm overthinking it. Stick with what I have. I don't even need to buy any new yarn for quite some time. I've got at least 10, 15 skeins, I think, Big Twist full skeins, right? So that would be quite a few squares that I could continue to make with those without ever purchasing anything else and using stuff that I already own. The other option would be, and it would be hand wash if I were wanting to, and it would be hand wash. Yeah, I'm thinking about it, but it won't work. I mean, it would work, but I would lose a lot of the pattern with it. I have a lot of fingering weight yarn, so I would hand wash it because a lot of my fingering weight yarn is hand wash, and I do have a lot of pretty colors with that. And I think it would be absolutely stunning to put together blankets of stuff. I mean, not necessarily these, but just, you see what I'm getting at, right? So that would be stunning, right? That would still show up with a lot of the colors. This would definitely show up with a lot of the colors. But I have a lot of other things that are more highly variegated that wouldn't necessarily, but I could come up with some things like that. And then of course it would be a lightweight blanket or shawl or whatever. Ooh. Oh. Yeah, shawl. And the reason I'm thinking that is I've shown on the previous weeks with this particular pattern what Anne does, and I've never seen this before. So here we've got the square, right? Okay, well, we know a square is comprised of 4 triangles. And then what she'll do, and she's done this so far in each one, is she has it graphed out like this tip right here, that you repeat 4 times, and that is literally the square, or what I've got on the double points right now. I don't want to keep picking it up because I'll drop a double point and I'll have to start over. But it's literally that, right? And for me with that yarn, it's like I said, about 16 inches. But she charts out with the pattern of the week how to extend that out. And you can work it to where it's a big triangle, and she tells you what your size would be roughly if you're using a similar yarn and needles, right? If you use, like I've got with the worsted weight, bigger yarn and bigger needles, it would be a huge hug. But going like this, it's already charted out. That would be such a stunning shawl. Some of her squares, some of them I love more than others just because of the uniqueness. I'm enjoying every one of them, but some of them, I'm not going to lie, they just stand out. This one needs to be blocked something fierce, but the texture and the movement of this one, I'm like, I'm smitten. I'm absolutely in love. And this one she's got also shows how to extrapolate that into a large triangular shawl, or you do the same thing going around. Again, it is a square, and you do all that and you can make this huge square blanket with it. Now, knitting a huge square blanket like that does get to a lot of stitches, and your yarn and everything, it really does get cumbersome because you've got so many stitches on your needles. Ask me how I know. I'm working on a blanket right now, the feather and fan one that needs surgery. Just, yeah, it does. But doing that as the huge triangle, that would be so stunning. And I've got plenty of yarns. I've got all these cake yarns. I had a lot of cake yarns like that. I really do. That would be gorgeous. And then I've also got lots of hand-dyed, stunning stuff along this line. You know, various colors, brands, and everything. And we know I love my autumns. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, I just love them. If they don't work for you, that's cool. More for me. You pick your colors, I'll pick mine. Awesome. No shame, no foul, man. I mean, we all love something different. But that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Just like with some of the other knit alongs and crochet alongs and things along that line that I've worked on, I highly recommend that while this pattern is free, that you at least go look at it, download it. You might not be interested in it today, but who knows what happens in a couple weeks, a month, or what have you. Something just might tickle your fancy and you're like, oh wait, I do want to do that. I do want to make that. And you have it. No harm, no foul. You have it available. The other one too is to improve your pattern reading skills and abilities. She really does list out a lot of different things that I've not seen in other patterns, and it can help to get a more of an understanding, a deeper understanding in that pattern writing. And then just looking at the way that that is just charted out. So there's multiple charts, but it goes into it. And I've looked at them, and they're not difficult, but I've never seen anyone do that before. So there's a lot of different things just by looking at it. Of course, I read patterns like a good novel. I do. Some people buy and collect books, whatever genre it is, and they will read start to finish and everything. Absolutely love it. I do that with patterns, whether I intend to make them or not. I have specifically purchased patterns in the past, pretty sure, almost to the 100% certainty, that I was never going to make the pattern. I wanted to see how the designer wrote the pattern, and I read the pattern like a novel. There's multiple that I have purchased for that reason and got my money's worth, right? 100% got my money's worth. I used to feel guilty doing that until somebody commented to me that, you know, when you buy a book, what do you do with it? Well, you read it. Yeah, but then what? Well, you just read it. And you didn't do anything with it? Well, no, you just read it. Well, what's the difference between buying a pattern? Whether I make the device, make the item or not, I've still read the pattern from start to finish. That's how I work with that. And I get such great joy from that. And kind of like filling my cart for shopping carts for different yarn companies, whether I ever push the button to buy it or not. I get a lot of joy just picking out the colors and dreaming of the next project and filling my basket. I don't necessarily have to push the button. I don't have room, right? It's the same with buying a pattern. I'll get that and I'll read it from start to finish, and I will plan the yarns that I'm using, plan the needles that I'm going to use, plan the alterations, because heaven forbid I would want to actually use a pattern from start to finish exactly as the designer said. What? Crazy talk, right? So I'll do all those things while I'm reading this. I'm altering it. I'm adding colors. I'm adding pops. I'm doing whatever. And I have such a blast. I really do. It is a novel. It is just my fun time. But anyway, maybe I'm the only one that does that. Let me know if you've ever done that or I'm just the weirdo. I'm good with that. It's at this point in my life, I'm just good with being the weirdo. It's okay. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Go ahead, if you haven't already, download the pattern and just look at it. You guys have a great day, night, evening, whatever it happens to be. And I will talk to you again later. Bye-bye.